Our other most common output device is a printer. A printer produces what we call a hard copy on a piece of paper. There are lots of different choices out there in printers today, and the cost of printers has really dropped drastically. Um, that said, you can spend a very little on a printer, or you can spend a whole lot depending on if it's specialized or not. Some specialized printers are impact, some that are thermal, dye, those are all specialized printers. But for the most part, in home use, what we're working with is what we call an inkjet printer. And an inkjet printer works by spraying ink on the paper. Typically, you have two ink cartridges, a black and a color. They're small, portable, and that's what most folks have in their home. And they're typically very inexpensive. However, when you purchase an inkjet printer, you want to ask how much the replacement cartridges are. In a lot of cases, you may find that the ink cartridges themselves are more expensive than the actual printer would be to purchase. So when you're shopping for an inkjet printer, that's a question you want to make sure that you ask, is how much are the ink cartridges going to run you. A laser printer is a higher end printer, typically for a lot of traffic there. It produces dots on a paper using a drum, and the image is kind of thermally put onto the paper. This is good for high volume printing when you've got a lot of folks. Typically you see this in an office setting. They have very good quality. They are more expensive. But why they are more expensive and the cartridges themselves are more expensive, the amount of pages that it will print is actually almost triple. And so sometimes in today's society, you can actually get a laser printer, black and white only, for about $150. And if you've got a situation where you're printing quite a great deal at home, this is something to take a look at. Photo printers, these are specially used printers that use a thermal dye. They're typically slower, but what they do is they actually produce photo quality images on this paper. Once again, just like the inkjet printers, you want to talk about the cost of the replacement ink. Typically, these types of printers have a very high cost in replacing the ink cartridges. The third area of hardware is storage. And one of the things, data storage allows systems to save all these programs and files and things that you would be using on a daily basis. And when we talk about data storage, we have a data storage medium and the device. The medium is the actual consumable. For example, if you have a CD, the medium is a CD and the device is a CD-ROM. There are lots of different options out there. The hard drive is the most commonly used storage location. This is something you don't see on your actual computer. It's inside the system unit. But in addition, we have tape drives, we have memory cards that go with your digital cameras, we have CDs, DVDs, your USB thumb drives. The storage medium category is almost endless. Any equipment that stores and retrieves data, we refer to that as storage. Here, the first thing that you see here is a USB drive. Then below that, we have a card reader with an SD card. The one in the middle here is your hard drive. All computers come today with an internal hard drive. You can't pull this out easily and move it from one computer to the other. This is where your operating system and all your programs are stored. Some storage devices are more dependable than others. Typically, CDs and DVDs have a very good success rate of not failing. The most common device today is typically a USB or what we call a flash drive, a pen drive, thumb drive. It goes by many names, but regardless, it plugs into your USB port. These are very portable. They have replaced our floppy drives on our desktop computers, and they easily go from one place to another. A specialized area of storage is what we call RAM, and that stands for Random Access Memory. When you're purchasing a computer, this is definitely an area you need to take a look at and consider. This is the temporary location that holds your data while it's waiting to go to your processor. The more RAM you have, the faster your computer is going to run. RAM is what we call volatile. It means that when you turn the computer off, anything that was stored there is gone. It's what we call a temporary storage location. This is not a permanent storage location. Our optical storage, that's dealing with our CDs and DVDs. These typically use a laser to store and write the data there. The advantage is it's portable, it's very versatile, and it's not susceptible to environmental issues. Hard drives today are still the preferred type of main storage. They have a very large capacity, they have a very fast access time, and the cost of it keeps dropping. 4 megabyte of storage basically right now costs about a penny if you break it down. A hard drive is typically a magnetic disk, and it actually has a drive head with a spindle, and that reads the information that's there. In addition to computers, you will find hard drives in quite a few digital devices that are out there. Some calculators, cell phones, all those types of things have a little small internal hard drive. The physical size of a hard drive can range from being very, very small to probably about 5.5 inches across or so. CDs and DVDs, we've talked about that a little bit, but a CD stands for a compact disc. And a DVD is a digital video disc, and they are all optical in nature, but all of our optical discs have 3 options. One is read only, one is recordable, which means you can record it once, and the other is what we call rewritable, which means you can write and delete. So you have the ones that you can just read, you have the ones that you can write one time to it, and then you have the ones that you can write over and over again. And when you're looking at it on a label, a CD-ROM is read-only. The CDR means you can record once, and the CDRW is the read-write. The same thing is true from DVD-R formats and a DVD-RW. If you want to record data over and over again, regardless, you need to make sure it's a CDRW. If you write to a CD-ROM, that CD-ROM can never be written to again. So that's something to keep in mind when you're working with CD-ROMs and DVDs. Other storage device, memory cards are fastly becoming a very common storage device because they are cheap and they have a large storage capacity. Typically these started out as in digital cameras, but you're now seeing them on cell phones. A lot of your computers today are coming with a card reader, and it's just a very quick interchangeable media to store stuff from. But an SD card or a secure digital card is the industry standard there. Card readers, this picture shows you one of those on the front of a computer. Typically this supports any of the different types of these small cards that are available. Right now we really do not have one that's an industry standard. There's several out there. Finally, a USB flash drive. We all have one in this course to save our data. It can be on a keychain. They come in all shapes and sizes, and basically they will just plug from one USB port to another. Finally, a peripheral is any piece of hardware you can actually plug into the back of your computers. It's referred to as a peripheral. Most peripherals are used today plug into what we call a USB port, Universal Standard Bus.